Western Oregon. This is NBC 16 News at 6:30.
The board has forwarded a finalist for consideration and should be in contract negotiations with that person. So at some point here in the next few weeks, we hopefully will have an exciting announcement once the board is able to vote on the terms of the final contract.
First at 6:30, the Eugene 4J School District now knows who its new superintendent will be, but the public won't know for several weeks. Good evening and thanks for joining us for NBC 16 News at 6:30. I'm Alan Matthews.
And I'm Gold Meadows. The district says this search was different from previous superintendent searches.
And that's because it hired a search firm to ensure a confidential search process, making even the number of candidates secret.
While families and students were able to give input on what they'd like to see in a candidate, and select parents also participated in community panels, the district kept the number and names of candidates under wraps.
What that allows is for really well-qualified candidates who, in many cases, may be sitting superintendents in other districts, are going to be more interested in checking out an opportunity like that if they know their information is going to be kept confidential, that they don't have to potentially compromise what might be a great situation for them. They might love where they're at, but might be intrigued by the opportunity of coming and being a superintendent in Eugene.
Deliberations happened over the weekend for the job that became available last March. That's after then 4J Superintendent Dr. Andy Dye and the district's board of directors agreed to part ways after 2 years due to accusations of bullying and retaliation. In a previous interview, 4J Interim Superintendent Colt Gill shared that the incoming superintendent will have to navigate declining enrollments and an expected $15 to $25 million in cuts next school year. After negotiations, the board will meet in open session to vote and contract terms and announce the superintendent with a start date of July 1st.
Well, the battle between the Eugene Emeralds and a new facility has been going on now for 4 years. And the M's announced today that they have reached a difficult decision. After multiple attempts to figure out a way to stay in Eugene, like building a new stadium at the Lane County Fairgrounds or potentially renovating PK Park to meet the new MLB standards, the organization was not able to secure the necessary funding. So the Emeralds are seeking a new place to call home. Now finding a place that will accommodate them is going to take some time. In the meantime, the Emeralds will continue to play at PK Park. Emeralds General Manager Alan Benavides said in the Emeralds statement released today, "We recognize the loss of professional baseball in Eugene is deeply disappointing for many. The Emeralds have been a staple in this community for 70 years, and we are committed to making our final seasons in Eugene truly special." The Emeralds encourage fans to come celebrate their 70th anniversary this season that will kick off on April the 4th.
Several conservation groups are suing Eugene Water and Electric, accusing the utility company of violating the Endangered Species Act, causing the death and injury of fish near one of its dams on the McKenzie River. The conservation groups, including Cascadia Wildlands, say EWEB hasn't provided enough fish passage at the Carmen Smith Hydroelectric Project and Trailbridge Dam on the famed McKenzie River for more than 16 years. As a result, the conservation group says ESA listed Chinook and bull trout have been killed or injured. The conservation director of Cascadia Wildlands, Bethany Cotton, says they've been working with EWEB for years to try to get them to improve the situation. But she says EWEB still hasn't made any significant improvements, even after 2 federal agencies, including U.S. Fish and Wildlife, sent the utility company letters about their concerns.
EWEB just blew off those letters, unfortunately. So we stepped in to say, hey, what is going on here? You've had a lot of warning and a lot of time, and we're conservation organizations concerned with the health of the river and with preventing the extinction of these beloved species that are really iconic to our region. So we finally said, we're going to hold you accountable for all of this delay and really make sure that we get fish past the dam.
EWEB spokesperson Aaron Orlowski says they've been taking steps to improve the passage for the fish, but he says they had to postpone construction because their regulator, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, requires them to study and resolve urgent dam safety issues first.
In the interim, we've made a lot of investments in habitat in the area and improvements for fish. We've invested more than $18 million on that front. We've also installed a temporary facility to allow fish to get past the dam. It's a temporary trap and haul facility, and that's something that agreed upon with our regulator.
Says eWeb is working closely with regulators to build a permanent fish passage at Trailbridge Dam. He says they're disappointed these conservation groups are choosing to waste public funds by filing this lawsuit, as customers will have to cover the cost of litigation.
A Coos Bay man is facing up to 90 years in prison for possessing, distributing, attempting to produce, and producing child pornography. 39-year-old Thomas Owen Barrett was arraigned in federal court today. According to court documents, between September and December of 2023, Barrett knowingly used a minor to engage and record sexually explicit conduct. In September of 2024, Barrett allegedly used social media, at times pretending to be a minor, to engage in chats involving child sex abuse and advertise the sale of child sex abuse material. His trial will start in May of this year.
With the number of measles cases nationwide topping 300 and spring break just around the corner, officials with the Oregon Health Authority are recommending getting vaccinated to stay safe. The OHA says the MMR vaccine for measles, mumps, and rubella has been deemed safe and effective. Most people get the vaccine when they're children, but booster shots are available for people who are at high risk of infection. Even if you've already been vaccinated, booster shots are harmless. Moving now to weather with a live look over Eugene tonight. Alan Matthews has a first look at your forecast, and I gotta say, we had 2 beautiful days in my opinion. Even with a few sprinkles, I enjoyed the weather.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of rainfall here in the Eugene area, not quite a 1/10 of an inch of rainfall so far. We'll get a bit of a break tonight into tomorrow, but then our next round of rain moves on into the area. Let's show you what's going on right now as we are at 50 degrees in Eugene under a cloudy sky. Winds right now are fairly calm, and as we take a look at the radar satellite, you can see that cloud cover across the area with a little few areas of rainfall around Eugene and Corvallis happening during the afternoon and early evening hours. Now, not only are we going to see rainfall with this next system, but we're going to see some snow and some heavy winds. A winter weather advisory will be in effect for the Cascades and Douglas, Lane, and Lynn County. Starts tomorrow evening at 5, runs until Thursday night at 5. Could see 10 to 12 inches of snowfall for the passes, and then a high wind warning will be in effect for the coast in Coos and Douglas County. Starts tomorrow morning at 7, runs until Wednesday evening at 5. Coos Bay could see wind gusts around 35 miles per hour, and keep in mind the more south you go on the coast, the stronger those wind gusts will be. We'll talk more about that rain totals coming up with your full forecast in just a bit. Gold?
Thanks, Alan. Well, Douglas County is still recovering today following flooding that impacted multiple cities. The city of Drain was one of communities hit hardest by the weather. Residents at Pacific Gateway, an adult foster home, were told to evacuate due to the floods. Employees say they're thankful for the quick response by local emergency services to keep people safe.
Police and fire and EMS, the medics, were out front of our facility for hours. They were doing boat rescues from people up the street because they had a higher level of water than we did. Plus, they were trying to safely evacuate our residents.
The city of Sutherland saw a different kind of emergency due to flooding. The city's waste and water system saw an overflow of sewage and storm water that flowed up through manholes around businesses and neighborhoods. The wastewater team says water levels should be back to normal now, but this event was way more than they're used to dealing with.
This was by far easily the biggest storm that I have seen with the amount of rain in such short a time. We've had a few in the past, but not like we've had this time.
Roads were also impacted by this rainfall. The Oregon Department of Transportation says more than 10 landslides occurred on Highway 138 alone, closing down the roadway as officials cleared the debris. ODOT says the past couple days were like playing whack-a-mole.
Just as our crews would get to one slide, another one would show up, and they would clean one up and it would slide some more. We even had to leave some areas for a while for our crew's safety, just to make sure that they weren't caught in the slides.
All of the landslides on Highway 138 are now cleared, with some delays occurring near North Umpqua Village, about 20 miles east of Roseburg. ODOT recommends drivers visit Trip Check before their next drive to make sure everything's clear.